Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so this Friday will be off for holiday, and I don't remember when did I tell you that we will have a midterm exam. Is it next Tuesday or next Friday? Yes, good afternoon. Can you turn on your camera so that I don't feel like I'm in the classroom by myself? So according to our plan, are we going to have the midterm exam next week or probably next week, right? Did I tell you next week? Next Wednesday? Okay.
Yes, next Wednesday.
Okay. So do you want to have it next Wednesday or next Friday?
I think I will let all the class vote, and then I will notify you as soon as possible.
Okay. Okay, so today we are going to finish the chapter related to swap. And if you have any questions, you can ask me for your revision. So last week we stopped at the comparative advantage argument regarding the swap contract. Just a moment, the internet is not very stable. I'm still loading. It is. Can you see my screen yet?
Yes, teacher.
All right. So basically, last week we stopped at the comparative advantage argument, and we talk about the comparative
Hello, teacher. I think there's something wrong with your network. We hardly can hear you or. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I was talking to myself for a few minutes and realized nobody was responding. So I checked the internet again and then I was out. Sorry about that. Okay, so do you still remember how we established the comparative advantage argument last time? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so so we talk about the interest rate swap, and we talk about the comparative advantage argument in saying that each corporation, when they enter the swap agreement between two parties, they may be able to make use of their comparative advantage in a certain rate and still end up with the demand in the opposite rate, right? And with the comparative advantage argument, we may design a swap contract in order to assist both parties in preserving their comparative advantage, but at the same time fulfilling their what they want to end up in the swap agreement. And in order to see the comparative advantage, right, over the certain rate, we have talked about how we can point it out from the difference between fixed rate and the floating rate. And we surely understand that the corporation that is rated at a higher rating scale would be always given the more favorable rates. Whether despite it is fixed or floating, it is always the rates would always be more appealing in comparison with the low rating corporation. But the thing here is when we look at the difference between the rate, the certain rate, for example, the fixed rate, right, and the floating rates, then we can find the comparative advantage at the certain rate for a certain corporation. And in this case, we consider between AAA and BBB corporation, and we can see the difference between the fixed rate for AAA would be higher, let's say, then we can, let's say this is 1.2, right? The difference between fixed rate between AAA and BBB is more than the difference between floating rate between AAA and BBB. Then, as you can see, we can conclude that AAA may have the comparative advantage over the fixed rate, and BBB will have the comparative advantage over the floating rate. However, AAA wants to borrow at the floating rate, although it has the comparative advantage over fixed rate, and BBB, although it has comparative advantage over floating rate, it wants to borrow at the fixed rate. So our mission is to design a swap contract in order to make use of the comparative advantage of AAA and BBB, but at the same time fulfill what they want to end up their contract, the swap contract together with each other, ending with the rate that they want to borrow. So we take the difference between the fixed and the floating rate, right? And then the differences between the differences of fixed and floating rate, we would divide it into two, and then we would design a swap so that AAA wants to borrow at the floating rate would benefit the comparative advantage of AAA corporation. So basically, we would take the 6-month LIBOR minus 0.1 0.1%. Then we minus the part that belong to AAA as the comparative advantage, which is 0.3. Is that 0.3 last time we considered, or 0.2? So that's 0. What was the result last time? You still remember? And then the same thing would be applied for BBB when it has the comparative advantage over the floating rate, but it wants to borrow at the fixed rate. So we minus the comparative advantage over the fixed rate over here. So basically, as the result, we know that, okay, AAA ends up borrowing at this rate, right? And BBB ends up borrowing at that rate. So now we have to establish the swap agreement between AAA and BBB. If it does not contain the help of the financial institution, we do not have any involvement of any bank in between, then they will sign the contract directly with each other. But if we have the help of the financial institution, then obviously it will receive some commission, right? The commission could be the agreement between between the parties, but also it could be the fixed or flexible in according to each swap contract or each case. So if they sign the contract together, right, directly, then they do not have to assign the commission to the financial institution. And if they get the help of the financial institution, then obviously the financial institution will lie in between, and in this case, it will get 0.04% as the commission, right? So basically, before we divide the comparative, the difference between the difference of the fixed and the floating rate, now we will minus some commission for financial institution, and then we will divide it into two, and we deduct it from the rate at which AAA or BBB wants to end up as the result of the swap contract. So basically, you understand the mechanism of how we would establish the comparative advantage argument. Is it clear to you, or do you need any of my explanation again? Is it clear? Okay, so you know, sometimes you have to respond, otherwise I will not be able to help you in time. Okay, so the comparative advantage argument, we would have some comments regarding this comparative advantage argument. So we understand that the fixed rate, the 4.0 and the 5.2% rate would be available for AAA and BBB corporation in the fixed rate market, and they are the 5-year rates, and the LIBOR minus 0.1 and LIBOR plus 0.6 rate are available in the floating rate market, and they're supposed to be the rate applied for 6-month rates. And so as you can see, the time difference could be a big gap. BBB corporation fixed rate would be dependent on the spread above LIBOR it borrows at some point of time in the future. And we understand that the 6-month LIBOR is the short-term AA borrowing rate, and the 5-year swap rate has would have the risk corresponding to the situation where we have the 10 6-month loans are made available to AA borrowers at LIBOR. Okay, so basically we compare the risk corresponding to the 5-year swap rate together with 10 of the 6-month loans are made corresponding to the LIBOR rate. Okay, this can be explained from this perspective that the lender can enter into a swap where the income from the loan with the LIBOR rate is exchanged for the 5-year swap rate. So this is to explain deeper about the way that we establish the comparative advantage argument. So above, we have already reviewed a very simple swap related to the interest swap between two parties or with the involvement of the financial institution. We also have many other kind of swaps, and one of the swaps that we consider would be the currency swap. Right? The example of a currency swap would be the swap agreement between two parties to pay, for example, 5% on sterling principal of 10 million pounds to receive 6% on a principal of 15 million pounds, US dollars. So this is the swap currency, the currency swap between sterling, Great British pounds, and US dollars, but we also based on, you know, the percentage that we would be able to calculate the amount of cash flow in Great British pounds and in US dollars. So we pay 5% on Great British pound on 10 million pounds, and then receive the cash flow based on 6% of the principal, 15 million US dollars every year for the next 5 years. This is the example. So unlike interest rate swap, right, we understand that the principle means that we do not exchange the money. We only based on the principle to calculate the cash flow based on the floating interest rate and the fixed interest rate. But for the currency swap, it is a little bit different from the interest rate swap in the way that there would be an exchange of the principal in the beginning and at the end of the contract. So, you know, the interest rate, we do not exchange the principal, right? This is what we have already agreed at the beginning. But for the currency swap, the difference lies in the way that there would be the exchange of principal at the beginning and at the end of the swap life. This is the example of the cash flow exchange. So based on what we have already seen in the example over here, this is the agreement to pay 5% on sterling principal of 10 million and receive 6% on the principal of 15. So basically, if it is the every year for 5 years, right, then we would have to pay out. So at the beginning of the swap contract, there would be the exchange of the principal, right? The principal. So we will exchange the US dollars to receive Great British pounds, and then, as you can see, the cash flow corresponding to each period, each year, corresponding to the 5 years as the maturity of the contract. Then we will receive the cash flow, and we would pay out the, you know, we would, based on the 6% and 5% to calculate the cash flow that we would receive, and we would pay every year. And at the end, as you can see, we would exchange back the principal. This cash flow represents what is going on between the two parties. The typical use of the currency swap would be something similar to the interest rate swap, in the way that we would convert a liability in one currency into the liability of another currency, or converting an investment that you would receive one currency and then you want to convert into another currency, right? So it can be a liability or it can be an investment, just like the interest rate swap. For currency swap, there may exist a comparative advantage because of probably the taxation based on the income that we would have from the exchange in cash flow, representing the difference of the exchange, the currency. So over here, if we establish the same argument regarding the comparative advantage, right, then these are the percentage rate offered to both General Electric and Qantas, right? So USD, for USD, then GE will be offered 5% and Qantas will be offered 7%. While for Australian dollars, GE will be offered 7.6% and Qantas will be offered 8%. Now, with the same comparative advantage argument, tell me, who is going to have the comparative advantage in what kind of currency? What kind of currency?
General Electric has a comparative advantage in borrowing in USD, while Qantas has comparative advantage in Australia dollars, AUD.
Australian dollars. Do you agree with Ming Chang, guys?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In order to understand why we have comparative advantage, then we just take the difference, right? So for this USD, then the difference is 2%. And for Australian dollars, it would be 0.4%. Right? So the difference between US dollars and Australian dollars, as you can see, obviously GE will be having comparative advantage over the USD, right? While for Qantas, the difference between the two corporation offered is lower for Qantas. So Qantas, as you can see, will have the comparative advantage over Australian dollars. Yes, but as you can see, GE, although has comparative advantage over USD, but wants to end up borrowing in Australian dollars. Right? And Qantas, although it has comparative advantage over Australian dollars, but it wants to end up borrowing in US dollars. Right. Now, suppose that the two corporation wants to, make use of their comparative advantage, and they will enter a swap contract with the help of the financial institution. Now, the financial institution will be responsible for designing a swap contract, the currency swap contract, with the involvement of GE and Qantas, and they must end up making use of their comparative advantage and with what they want in the end, as to borrow Australian dollars and US dollars. Now, please design, suppose that you are the financial institution, please design a contract that benefit both parties, and still at the same time, they can end up borrowing at the rate that they want, they desire. Okay, everyone, please write down, try to establish. This comparative advantage argument may be a little bit difficult to understand in the first place, but as long as you get used to it, you would be able to deal with it, I think, at ease. But the thing is, practice always makes perfect, right? Then we try to improve our, thinking, logical thinking, by getting involved in doing, learning by doing, right? For solving the specific case. So I give you some minutes to try to find out the way to design the swap agreement. Please draw, tell me how they end up, and then, just design it. You always can swim. Have you finished? Have you finished? Okay, so if we design the swap so that both parties can end up having, you know, what they want and still make use of the comparative advantage, then GE, General Electric, and Qantas will end up borrowing at what rate? How can we calculate this? Anyone wants to volunteer to represent this?
Can you repeat the question maybe, because I couldn't hear you properly?
All right. So the final rate that GE, General Electric, and Qantas will end up will be what rate?
Well, in my model, I had a gain of 1.6% in US dollar and a loss of 1.4 AUD, and so the net gain was 0.2 for the financial institution.
Yes, but I mean the for GE and for Qantas, they will end up with what rate? Just a moment, I'm looking for the text. So you can assume that the financial institution would be benefited for, yes, okay, for like the gang or well, right, she just said that the FI received 0.2%. So finally, the GE and Qantas will end up with what? How can we allocate it? Anyone can represent, illustrate what would be going on. In this situation. Okay, so what? Okay. Okay, Tang said that GE ends up borrowing 6.9 Australian dollars and Qantas ends up with borrowing at 6.3 US dollars. You share the same result. How do you calculate that, Tang?
The total gain is 1.6%. So I assume that the commissions for the financial institutions is 0.2%. So the gain for both companies is 1.4%, and I divided by 2. So each company would gain 0.7%. And so GE wants to borrow Australian dollars, so I take 7.6% US dollar, Australian dollar minus 0.7%, and is equal to 6.9% Australian dollars, and Qantas end up paying 7.0% minus 0.7% and equal to 6.3% US dollar.
So we take the difference, right? We take the difference between the US dollars, so 7 minus 5. Okay, I'll just write this here first.
We haven't seen your slides yet.
Yeah, I'm loading it. Okay, the way we calculate the comparative advantage would be we take the difference between the fixed of the USD rate. So that would be 2%, right? 2%, and then Australian dollars would be 0.4. Now, what we are going to do is we assume that the financial institution will be in between, right? And will receive 0.2. Is that 0.2 as you assumed as the commission, right? Then this would be equal to 1.4, right? And this 1.4% will be divided into 2. So each would be able to receive the comparative advantage of 0.7%. Right. So if we make use of this comparative advantage of 0.7% after we have already deducted the commission for the financial institution, then what's going on? Then this 0.7% would be allocated into the Australian dollars rate and the US dollars rate to end up with what GE and Qantas wants, right, at the end. So GE wants to borrow in Australian dollars, and the rate at which it is offered to GE is 7.6%. And in order to make use of the comparative advantage, then we would take the comparative advantage of 0.7% off the 7.6%, right? So GE will end up borrow at 7.6 minus 0.7%. Then it would be 6.9% in Australian dollars rate, right? And then Qantas wants to borrow in US dollars, borrow US dollars at 7% offered to Qantas, but when we take into consideration the comparative advantage of 0.7, then it will be ending up by borrowing at what rate? 7% minus 0.7 would be 6.3% in US dollars. Yes, so basically, this is the result that we want to have at the end of the swap contract, as the result of the swap contract. Now the thing here is, how would you input it into the swap agreement to have the final result as GE ending borrowing at 6.9 US Australian dollars, and Qantas ends up borrowing at 6.3 US dollars. Can you draw a graph showing the involvement of the two corporation, GE, Qantas, and then financial institution? Tang, would you like to try?
Sorry, I always has problem with screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Then who else can present it? Đức Anh probably, or Kim Thao?
I can try to show it. I don't know if I can share my screen.
Okay,
So.
try. I'll stop sharing the screen. Yes, I turn it off. Now you can try.
Oh, I still see your screen, but I will try to share mine.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, it looks a bit chaotic. So that's how I drew it. This is the General Electric that pays 5% and 6.9% to the financial institution. And
you cannot see it yet.
Oh, really?
What about Sorry, it was my time again. Can you say it again, Tao?
Shall I share my screen again, or?
Yes, please, because I was just locked out.
Okay. Well, can you see it now?
Yes. Okay. So do you want to say something to present this?
Well, just as we said that General Electric borrows at 5%, and like it pays that, and also pays the 6.9% that we calculated for the gain in Australian dollars to the financial institution, which pays to Qantas, I guess, the 8% as well. That is also the borrowing rate for this company, and the upper arrows show that Qantas pays the 6.3% that we calculated with the 7% minus the 0.7 to the financial institution, which pays to General Electric the 5% USD. And so it gains 1.3% in US dollars and loses 1.1% in Australian dollars.
Okay. Okay, so who share the same result as Kim Tao? Just raise your hands, please. Okay, Tung Bek share the same result. Đức Thắng, okay. Chami. Yeah, just raise your hands because I just want to see, you know, how you're getting on with the problem solving.
But it is correct, right?
Do you think, are you confident that it is correct?
I'm pretty confident, actually.
Yeah. It's correct, yes. This is
Okay,
how
thank
it
you.
goes. The swap agreement between GE and Qantas with the help of FI, the financial institution. And the net gain, the commission of 0.2%, for some students, they may think it must be exactly belong to US dollars or belong to Australian dollars, but that would not be possible if we can design. For some cases, it could be possible, but for some cases, we would not be able to assign it directly to one currency, but instead it might be the difference. You know, probably it is a loss in Australia. Sorry, it is probably a loss in Australian dollars, but probably again in US dollars, and then we calculate the commission as the net gain between the difference in the commission in US dollars and in Australian dollars. And probably that is the reason why for some students you may not be able to establish the graph showing the swap agreement between three parties involving in the agreement, because for some students they are confused regarding to the commission for the financial institution for currency swap. Especially for interest rate swap, it might be easier because basically probably we just leave, you know, LIBOR in, LIBOR out, and then the fixed rate we will adjust it in order to reflect the commission of the financial institution. But for currency swap, it might be a little bit different because we are in exchanging different currency, right? Rather than, and the rate would be reflecting corresponding to each currency. Okay, thank you, Kim Tao. Thank you very much. That's correct. So you can lower your hands now. I can see that you have like 15 students in the class sharing the same result as Kim Tao. The rest of you, I'm not sure if you are still following us or you are getting lost somewhere. Please raise your hands, raise your voice if you are having problem understanding. Otherwise, I just assume that, you know, it's okay to go on. Okay. We have the valuation part, but I will let you just discover it more in the book, you know, for the valuation, because we will end up with the comparative advantage argument in the swap contract. If you want to understand more about how to value each contract regarding swap, each type of swap, then we can read further in the book at home, but in the examination, this is not required. Okay, but we just discuss briefly about the valuation of the currency swap. So like many other kind of derivative contracts, then we understand that when we value swap contract, or whether it is currency swap or interest rate swap, then it would be valued as considering the differences between the different kind of cash flow. We discount them back at the present value, and we take the difference, and we consider it like, you know, two like fixed income bond or a portfolio of a forward contracts. So basically, we would, based on what is written in the swap agreement as the rate. For example, we have different kind of rate in order to discount the cash flow to the present value, right? Based on the principal and the current exchange rate, then we would be able to value the contract in terms of similar like the bond. So basically, for the first year, the second year, the third year, right? Then we would discount the cash flow back to the present value using the rate offered in the swap agreement. For example, we have the cash flow exchange for the currency of US dollars and the yen, Japanese yen. Then basically we discount all the upcoming cash flow to the present value, and then the value of the swap would be the present value of Japanese yen divided by the current exchange rate between yen and dollars. And then we minus the cash flow that we have for US dollars. Then we get the value of the swap. This is for your reference. You can read it further in the book, but it is not required in the examination. Okay. All right. So basically, we would have, you know, the swap contracts that we cover in this chapter is just the very basic type of swap, and we call it the vanilla swap. Instead, in reality, we may have many kind of swaps, more complicated swap. As you can see, these are some of the swap contracts that may be more complicated than the plain vanilla swap. For example, we have floating interest rate swap. This is not like float for fixed, but float for float, right? Different kind of floating rates. Amortizing swap, step-up swaps, forward swaps, constant maturity swap, compounding swap, LIBOR in errors swap, accrual swap, diff swap, across currency interest rate swap, equity swap, extendable swap, putable swap, and many more. But we only, introduced to you a very basic mechanism of a swap contract and how the financial institution will consider designing different swaps in order to probably make use of the comparative advantage of each partner, each party getting involved in the swap agreement. For the swap chapter, we have already practiced some examples. So basically, what is required in the examination would be similar to what you have practiced in the class. Now I give you one extra practice question just to make sure that you would be able to solve the similar problem if you come across in the final examination or in the midterm exam. So I'll give you some time to do it. But before we do this practice exercise, okay, I'll give you some time to copy it first, and then today I'm gonna check attendance for the very first time. Actually, I forgot it, and this is the first session already. Sorry, a 7th session already. So for some sessions, if I forget to check attendance, then I may use the attendance checking from Teams, because after each section will generate, there is the attendance checking list automatically generated by Teams. So probably if I forget to check attendance, I may use some of the resources. Okay, tell me when you are finished copying the question so that we can move on. So you finish this with this practice? I just turn it off and then we'll check attendance, okay? Okay. All right. In order to check attendance, then please first of all turn on your camera, and then I'll call your name. Okay, you ready? Okay, so when you are your code, your name, your camera must be on, and please raise your hand so that I can see you. You know, sometimes there is a very high probability that we will finish this course online, right? With the current situation of COVID-19. Doãn Quỳnh Anh.
Yes, I'm here.
Your camera is not on, right, Quỳnh Anh?
No, I've already turned it on. Can you see me?
Can you raise your hands? I mean your hand, not the virtual hand.
Yes.
Okay. Đoàn Phương Anh.
Yes.
Lê Đức Anh.
Yes.
Nguyễn Văn Anh.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Trần Mai Anh.
Yes, I'm here.
Nguyễn Bách.
Yes, I'm here.
Minh Châu.
Yes, I'm here.
Nguyễn Đức Cường.
Yes, I'm here.
Phan Mỹ Duyên.
Yes, I'm here.
Khánh Dương. Absent. Nguyễn Đức Đạt. Đức Đạt. Absent. Trịnh Bá Đức. Trịnh Bá Đức. Absent. Đặng Phương Hà.
Yes, I'm here.
Dương Hiếu Hạnh.
I'm here.
Bùi Việt Hằng. Bùi Việt Hằng. Absent. Yeah, it's good if you raise your hand virtually as well, because sometimes the internet is buffering, so I cannot see your hand. Bùi Diệu Hằng.
Yes, I'm here.
Lê Việt Hằng.
Yes, I'm here.
Phạm Thu Hằng.
Yes, I'm here.
Right. Nguyễn Đức Hiếu.
Yes, I'm here.
Nguyễn Văn Hoàng.
Em đây ạ.
Okay. Trịnh Công Hiếu.
Dạ, alo, em có.
Trần Thị Ngọc, Trần Ngọc Thi Khanh.
Dạ có ạ.
Lê Duy Kiều.
Em có.
Nguyễn Nhật Linh.
Dạ có ạ.
Khánh Linh. Trịnh Khánh Linh. Absent. Lê Bình Long.
Yes.
Nguyễn Thành Long.
Yes, I'm here.
Long.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Nguyễn Tùng Lộc.
Em here, em đây ạ. Nghe em chưa?
Tùng Lộc.
Alo ạ.
Yes, is that Tùng Lộc?
Em đây ạ.
Okay. Let's see.
Em đây. Cô nghe rõ rồi, Nguyễn Tùng Lộc ạ.
Yes, all right. Nguyễn Thị Ngọc Mai.
Em đây ạ.
Tô Hoàng Mai.
Em có ạ.
Đỗ Đăng Minh.
Dạ em có.
Nguyễn Ngọc Minh.
Có.
Phú Thị Ngọc Minh.
Em có ạ.
Vũ Trà My.
Em có ạ.
Hoàng Thành Nam.
Em có ạ.
Đặng Linh Nga. Đặng Linh Nga.
Có ạ.
Nguyễn Quỳnh Nga.
Có ạ.
Thị Kim Ngân.
Có ạ. Có
Kim,
cô tên gì không ạ?
Kim Ngân đâu nhỉ?
Dạ có ạ. Alo ạ.
Hoàng Bích Ngọc.
Em có ạ.
Lê Thị Ánh Nguyệt.
Em có ạ.
Nguyễn Thị Hồng Nhung.
Em có ạ.
Trần Trang Nhung.
Em có ạ.
Vũ Thị Oanh. Vũ Thị Oanh, absent. Nguyễn Hà Phương.
Có ạ.
Thiều Anh Phương.
Có ạ.
Đinh Quân.
Có.
Trần Đỗ Quyên.
Có ạ.
Phương Thảo.
Em có ạ.
Nguyễn Phương Thảo. We have two Nguyễn Phương Thảo.
Em là đuôi 36 ạ.
Ok, Nguyễn Phương Thảo đuôi 35.
Em có ạ.
Ok, Nguyễn Thu Thảo.
Dạ có ạ.
Vũ Phương Thảo.
Dạ có ạ.
Thắng. Nguyễn Thị Thu Thủy.
Em có ạ.
Nguyễn Thị Minh Thư.
Em có ạ.
Vâng.
Em có ạ.
Nguyễn Trương Khánh Toàn.
Em đây cô ạ.
Đinh Phương Trà.
Em có ạ.
Lê Thu Trang.
Em có ạ.
Ngô Quỳnh Trang.
Em có ạ.
Nguyễn Mai Trang. Kinh Trang,
Có.
Huyền Trang,
Có.
sorry, Trịnh Quỳnh Trang,
Có.
Yến, Hải Yến.
Có.
Okay. I think we finished.
Cô ơi, em có vào lớp từ đợt đăng ký bổ sung ấy ạ, thì cô vẫn chưa đọc tên em ạ.
Em là ai nhỉ?
Em là Lê Thúy Hạ, mã sinh viên là 19133400503. Cô cho em điểm danh vậy ạ.
Ok. Tại vì là đây là danh sách
Em
gửi
cũng
đi.
vào
Em
lớp
là
từ
cô ạ.
đợt đăng ký
Cô ơi,
bổ sung,
cũng
em
là
cũng
sinh
chưa
viên
có tên ạ.
lớp từ đợt đăng ký bổ sung ạ. Lúc ấy cô điểm danh thì em cũng chưa được gọi tên ạ.
Gọi gì nhỉ? Gửi cho
Vâng.
cô cái tên và mã sinh viên của em nữa.
Vâng, em là Dương Việt Anh ạ. Mã sinh viên của
Không,
em là
nhắn trên tin nhắn đi.
vâng.
Tất cả các bạn đều nhắn trên tin nhắn nhé.
Vâng ạ.
Nhưng cô cho em điểm danh vậy ạ. Lúc đấy cô đọc tên em không biết là em nói có cô nghe được không?
Có thì đã có rồi, mà không thì đã không rồi, đúng không? And welcome Thao. Can you enter your student ID and your full name as well, because I need to input your name into the list. So those who are absent today would be Trần Khánh Dương, Nguyễn Đức Đạt, right. Lê Trịnh Bá Đức, Khánh Linh, Đức bây giờ mới vào hay là vào sau rồi đấy? Sao lúc câu điểm danh không thấy?
Alo ạ. Cô ơi, hình như lúc nãy là máy em nó hơi bị lag cô ạ. Nên là chắc là em nói cô không nghe được ạ. Cô cho em xin phép điểm danh ạ.
Chắc chắn không? Hay là mới vào?
Vâng ạ. Máy em nó hay bị thế lắm ạ. Vâng, cô cho em xin phép điểm danh với ạ.
Tại sao em phải nói sớm hơn, vì tên em ngay từ đầu đúng không?
Dạ.
Mà người nào mà đã absent là cô đã nói là absent. Okay, I just want to check again. So those who are added or who are registered later into the class would be Trương Thu Phương, Nguyễn Hà Anh, Nguyễn Thị Hải Hà, Lê Thúy Hà, Nguyễn Hà Chi, Lê Thúy, Lê Thúy Hà already counted. Kim Thao Well, Võ Thị Linh, and Vũ Thùy Trang.
Cô ơi, em có nhắn tin cho cô rồi nhưng mà hình như là cô chưa xem nữa. Cô vẫn chưa đọc tên em.
I'm asking something else, not that one first. Not that one. So those who I have just announced the names, did I miss someone? Is this the list that I need to update? Is there a complete one or did I miss anyone?
Cô ơi, em vẫn chưa được cô đọc tên ạ.
Em là ai?
Em là Dương Việt Anh ạ. Em có nhắn tin cho cô qua Teams rồi.
Dương Việt Anh là tên đầu tiên, là phải gọi đầu tiên chứ.
Vâng ạ, nhưng mà em vào lớp từ đợt đăng ký bổ sung ạ, nên là ban đây cô vẫn chưa đọc tên em ạ.
Đăng ký thì trong danh sách tên của em không có trong danh sách em ạ.
Vâng ạ, em vừa check lại trên FortuGate thì cái lớp lớp của cô em đăng ký thì vẫn còn ạ. Nhưng
vấn đề danh sách nhà trường gửi cho cô là không có tên em, và nếu mà em muốn bổ sung tên em thì em phải type các cái thông tin của em vào trong cái Teams này chứ, đúng không? Cô đã nói là các bạn type tên cho cô cơ mà.
Dạ vâng, em tưởng là cô bảo là nhắn tin riêng cho cô nên là em nhắn vào phần box chat.
Tại sao phải nhắn riêng? Cái này là cái general cơ mà.
Dạ vâng, cảm ơn cô.
Còn bạn nào cô miss tên không?
Cô cho em hỏi chút ạ. Em tên là Phạm Lê Huyền ạ. Em cũng đăng ký được bổ sung đợt vừa rồi nhưng mà vừa nãy nhà em bị mất mạng, em vừa mới vào lại được nên là em không biết cô đã đọc tên em chưa ạ?
Nếu em là đăng ký bổ sung thì cũng giống như các bạn là không có tên trong danh sách đâu.
Vâng, thì em có điểm danh ở dưới phần chat ở trong lớp rồi ạ.
Em đã ghi thông tin cho cô chưa?
Dạ, em có ghi rồi ạ.
Em mà ghi danh xin phép điểm danh thì làm sao mà là cái thông tin đấy được?
Dạ, tức là sao ạ cô?
Em phải ghi là em là sinh viên bổ sung, cần bổ sung vào danh sách, chứ còn em xin điểm danh thì làm sao mà cô biết được là em là chưa có tên trong danh sách.
Vâng ạ, em tên là Phạm Anh Huyền, mã sinh viên của em là 1913340020 ạ. Thì
không phải là cô nói là em nói là như thế, tức là khi em nhắn tin thì phải nhắn tin rõ ràng.
Vâng ạ. Vâng, em biết rồi, em cảm ơn cô.
Thông thường là nếu mà cô đã đi qua rồi thì sẽ không được điểm danh lại đâu. Tất cả những cái trường hợp mà các bạn nói là mạng do mạng yếu, mạng kém thì cô sẽ kiểm tra lại. Với trường hợp của bạn, ví dụ bạn Vũ Hải Long, bạn các bạn mà nhắn tin trên này nhá, thì cô sẽ kiểm tra lại. Vì Teams có một cái chức năng là sẽ ghi record lại thời gian các bạn ra vào lớp học. Exactly the minutes you enter or you drop out the class. It would be recorded in the list, and I will check if you are truly in the class from the beginning. Then I will check the attendance here, okay? And otherwise, then it will be considered cheating if you still claim that you have been in the class. When I check attendance and you drop out, if you drop out for a few minutes, then it's all right. You still will be checked attendance for that section. But if you enter the class when you know that it is attendance checking, this is just to this is not really good to lie like that, then you'll be absent for that section. I will check when we finish this section. Okay, and when I finish checking attendance, then there is no excuse whatsoever. You are away for a while, or you are, or you do this, or you do that. Then it is not possible to apply the reason for absence. Okay, have you finished the exercise? Who wants to solve this problem? I don't think this is a very challenging problem, right? Okay, let's see some new faces, because we have Chami and Đức Anh are old faces, right? Now let's call Chang Yung. Chang Yung.
Okay, so let me share my screen.
Right.
So can you see my screen now?
Yes, very colorful.
Okay, so first I will find the difference in the fixed rate and floating rate between company A and company B. So and then I will find the total gain, and it equal to 1.4% minus 0.5%, and I got 0.9%. And then the financial institutions requires 0.1 commissions, and so it will leaving 0.9 minus 0.1 and divided by 2, and it equal to 0.4% gains for each company A and company B. So that will result in company A can borrow the floating rate at LIBOR plus 0.1% and minus 0.4% and equal to LIBOR minus 0.3%. For company B, it can borrow at the fixed rate of 6.4% minus 0.4% and equal to 6%. So from that result, I can draw the swap like this. Yeah, so I don't know how to explain this swap strategy, but it will end up the company A will borrow exactly LIBOR minus 0.3%, and B will borrow at the fixed rate of 6%.
Do you agree with Chang Yung? The explanation is quite clear. The representation is very nice, right? What software are you using? Is this like a notebook or something?
So this in Miro is I often use to draw my map. It's very easy to use, like draw some graphics.
Very nice. Because I've seen a lot of students using iPad instead of normal papers to write down. Right now, you're using technology. Very good, because basically this is the time that you need to update a lot of softwares to assist your studying. Okay, so Chami share the same results. Đức Anh share the same result. So now you have no problem understanding the comparative advantage argument, right? Okay, is it easy? Easy or difficult? Okay, do you have any questions related to what we study up to now? Because we are expecting the midterm exam next week, right?
Do you already know how many exercises you will put on the exam and how much time we will get for it?
Oh, the time would be from 50 to 60 minutes. I'm still thinking about the design. I haven't worked it out yet, but probably it might contain, you know, theories and practice, problem solving. So probably it would contain some of the questions related to how you understand the mechanism, the market, the features of different derivatives packages, the contracts, you know, the way they function, the way they are operated in the market. So that would be related to the theory, and we would have problem solving similarly to what we have done in the class. So I don't think it would be a problem if you follow the class quite well from the beginning up to now.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, please.
Can I ask that on what application will the test be taken on?
Because it is the this is, I think I'm probably not being able to answer yet, because if it is it's on Teams, definitely it will be on Teams. But if I give you some multiple choice question, then it would be the incorporation between the assignment and the multiple choice question. So I'm still thinking about it, because if it is barely the writing, then it would be on the assignment. Otherwise, probably some questions would be presented in the multiple choice forms.
Yes.
But I'm not quite sure yet. I will think about it at the end of this week and try to prepare for this. But you do it on Teams.
Yes, thank you, teacher.
Okay. Okay, so far so good. All right. Then have you decided whether we would do it on Wednesday or Friday?
So if it's on Friday, we will study what chapter on Wednesday, teacher?
So we do it on, you want to do it on Wednesday?
No, I just asked that if we do it on Friday, we continue studying next chapter or?
Yes, of course. We will continue studying on Wednesday. Then you do the exam on Friday. So you want more time for revision?
But if we have the midterm test on Friday, will there be chapter 8 or like the next chapter included as well in the midterm test, or only until chapter 7?
Until chapter 7, just until chapter 7 only. We cover up until today.
I think Friday would be perfect for the midterm exam.
Okay. Okay, so we agree that I'll give you some extra time for revision, self-revision, and we'll do the test on Friday. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So we're off for today. Have a very nice holiday with your family, and please stay safe and healthy. And I'll see you next week.
Bye, teacher.
Goodbye for now. Bye.
Goodbye, teacher.
Have a nice holiday.